All right, so now let's work on our logo components. Remember what that is? That's the Falcon logo and this little caption beneath it that says Falcon logo. So this is going to be one component here. So going back to our code here, I've taken the liberty of going into the logo.js file and just setting it up. So I got my import statements at the top. I got my import React from React, our standard one in line 1. Line 2, I'm going to import a view, an image, and a text. So the view is going to just be a container that holds everything. We got to have a view. The image is going to hold the Falcon logo, and the text is going to hold the caption beneath it. I'm going to import that from React-native. I got my function export default function. It's got to be called logo with a capital L, same as the file name. No parameters. I don't need to give it any outside information. That will customize it, so it'll just do its job on its own. And then I got my open curly brace. I got my return statement, parentheses, and inside the return statement, I got an empty view set up. Okay, so I got the basic structure of it set up already. I've also taken the liberty in my app.js, my main file, I've already imported it. So I've import logo from .components .components/logo. So I import it into my main app. And then I've also gone ahead and just put my self-closing tag for the logo right below the self-closing tag for the intro. So I got everything set up. Now there's nothing there, of course, because it's a blank slate right now, but let's go ahead and add in stuff. Okay, so let's go back to the logo file. So first thing I've got to do is put in the image. So I have a tag here. Now the image is going to be a self-closing tag. I don't need to have anything inside, an opening and a closing, like I would for a view. A view is not a self-closing tag. You need an opening and a closing because there's going to be stuff between it. It's going to be a container that holds other stuff. But an image is not. It's just going to be a self-closing tag by itself. Okay, so the question is, how do I specify where the file is? Okay, the file, so let's take a look at the file. So it's in our assets folder, and it's called falconlogo.gif. Okay, so the way we specify where to find it, if it's within our file space, is we use what's called a source attribute. So I type source. Notice where I'm putting that. I'm putting that right before the ending angle bracket, the slash in the angle bracket. I'm putting that in equals curly brace require parentheses single quote. Okay, so I set this weird thing up here, this weird structure. Inside that single quote, I'm going to put the file path to where that picture is. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit interesting. So let me put it in first. Okay, so I'll put it in first, and then I'll explain, how this works. Okay, so what did I put here? I put double dot, so I put dot slash assets slash falconlogo.gif. Okay, so what's going on here? What is this double dot thing? Okay, well, you might remember, okay, so let me go back to my app.js. Might remember seeing something like that before. So in these import statements up here, I put the file path as a single dot slash components slash logo. Okay, so single dot here versus in my logo.js, I put a double dot slash assets slash falcon logo.gif. Okay, so what's going on with the single dot versus double dot? Okay, well, the double dot means you have to go up one level in the directory structure. Okay, whereas a single dot, like if you're in your main app.js file, you're already in the top level of your directory structure. You're already at the top level. So to get into the components folder, you just have to go down from the top level, one level down into the components folder to find all these component files here. So that's why there's a single dot. So the single dot means from where you are, go down one level into the components file. Versus if you're in the logo file, you're already in the components file, so you have to go back up to the top level first and then go back down into the assets folder. So you got to go up and then down. So the double dots mean from where you are, which is we're currently in the logo file in the component subfolder. You go up one level and then down into the assets folder from there. Okay, so it's navigating, learning how to navigate this file space. So if you're in the components folder, you got to go up to the top level and then down into the assets folder. And that's what the double dots do. So the double dot means from where you are, which is in the components folder, you go up one level and then down into the assets folder, and then you get the file from there. Okay, so see where it is. So now we got it. There's no errors. So now it should, you would think, it should appear on our screen, but we don't see it. Okay, I don't see on the emulator here. I don't see, where's that Falcon logo? Where's the Kalani logo? I don't see it there. There's no errors. I don't see red. So it must be, compiling. The code must be okay. It's compiling and running, but why don't I see the picture there? Okay, well, oftentimes with images, it's probably a matter of the size of the image. I mean, the image could be so big that it is there, but we're just seeing the white part of it. We're not seeing the red part with the Kalani logo. It must just be so big that it's off the screen. It's going off the screen. Okay, so how do we fix that? Okay, well, here's where we got to start to bring in the styling. So oftentimes with images, especially if you have an image that you're bringing in from somewhere else, size of the image, the width and the height, could be an issue because a phone screen has a very limited width and height. We got to be careful. It's usually about 400 pixels wide, and so there's not much room there. So probably the issue here is, well, before you panic, the issue probably is, and we need to address it, is that the size of the image is probably just too big for the screen. Okay, so now we got to do some styling. So now let's bring in the styling part. There's nothing wrong with the code as it is. It's just a matter of the image being too big. So we got to resize the image. That means we got to do some styling. Okay, so let's add in some styling now. So what I got to do first is I've got to import in my import section, line 2, where I import all our core components, our view, image, and text. I'm going to add one more. So after text, I'm going to put comma, and I'm going to put style sheet. Notice the style sheet, the S's are capitalized, capital S for style and capital S for sheet. Okay, so I import that. That allows me to make some styles. Okay, so now we're going to add in a third section to our app here, our component here, and that's going to be for the styling. Okay, so once again, there's kind of a standard template or a standard pattern that we follow. Don't worry too much at this point. What does this word mean exactly? Don't look at the small little details, kind of look at the big picture. So just making some styles. So const mean constant. I'm going to call it styles equals style sheet dot create, open parentheses, open curly brace, and then open it up. Okay, so I set it up like this. Oops. Okay, so this gives me kind of the template to work with. Now in the styles, I can define several different styles. I can define a group of styles and name them. I can group a bunch of things together and call it, okay, this style I'm going to call logo style, or this style I'm going to call image style, whatever. So you can put a bunch of them in. Let's just put one set of styles in just to use to resize that image. So I'll call it logo style, okay, like that. So I'm going to define a set of styles. In order to do that, I name it. So I give it a name. I'm going to call it logo style, put a colon, and then an open curly brace like this. Okay, so I've got all these curly braces and parentheses all over the place, but don't worry too much about them. Just know that that's how we group stuff together. So inside that inner curly brace, I'm going to list out all the styles I want to apply. Okay, so let's say let's change the width and the height of that image. So width, I would go and look up in CSS. I would go look up, okay, what things control the width and the height of the image, and they're called width and height. Okay, so width, let's just try for now, let's say 300 pixels, comma, and let's also change the height. Let's set it to 300 also. Okay, so I'll set up these width and height styles to resize that image. You wonder, well, why isn't it changing? I don't see it changing. Well, that's now because we have to, once we've defined the style, we've got to go back and apply it to the image component here. Okay, so after this source attribute, let me put in a new thing, and that's going to be a style. Okay, so style equals, and I'll put an open curly brace. And then I'm going to pull in the style from where I defined it down here. So I put styles dot logo style. So I put the name of the style right there. Okay, so style equals curly brace, styles dot logo style. Okay, where does that stuff come from? Well, styles is what you called it. You could actually call that anything you want. So whatever you call it, that's what you put here. And then the name of the style itself that you want to use. I use logo style. Okay, that's where I change the width and the height. Now when I do that, you see now there, it's finally we're seeing it. Okay, so now we resize the image, so now we're seeing it in our screen. Okay, so there's our logo. Okay, so that's how we do styles. So the other thing we're missing here is we're also missing there's a text. Okay, there's a text. So remember our component had below the image there was like a caption. It said Falcon logo. So let's put that in. Okay, so I put up the text there, and inside of it, let's go put in the. Okay, let's go put in the text there. Now in our emulator, we see it there. It's not centered, doesn't look quite like how we want it, but at least there it is. Okay, so there's our app. So there's how we, let me go ahead and, as good practice, I'll save it. So there's our app. So that's how we define things in components. You just make a separate file in your components folder where each component lives, the code for each one lives. And the code for the component is just like the code for the main app. You got your imports at the top, you got your main body in the middle, and you got your styles on the bottom. Okay, and while I'm at it, let me go ahead and prettify that. Let me make it look a little bit nicer and save it. Okay, now we're not quite done yet, of course. It doesn't look quite like how we want. The styling is all off. I mean, the text, of course, is different, and it's not centered. We got all that stuff we got to fix up, but at least we got stuff up. We got some content up. So now we're ready to dive into the styling part.